Good day, painters. Today I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the methods of the old masters and why they used underdrawings, underpaintings and a colored ground. So first let's start with the colored ground, which is put on top of the white base that we have in a painting. So the colored ground, or the imprimatura, is an even color spread across the whole surface, which is in these methods it's in a mid-tone, meaning it's somewhere between light and dark, in the middle somewhere. Also this imprimatura has already some color temperature, meaning that it has a certain warmth, for example. And the general idea of coloring a ground is that you can see this warmth throughout the whole painting when you work towards later stages. Another reason to use a colored ground is because when you use a white ground and you would cover the painting with color and you would forget tiny spots, then through the tiny spots you would see the white come through, and this is really dominant, so this will not really work. So preferably you would have a mid-tone, so all the places you don't cover with paint will be not dominant. Okay, then once you have applied a colored ground, you can start the underdrawing. And before I'll explain this, first let me explain a little bit about the old masters, because there are certain myths about their methods. And one of the myths is that what they were doing was like very secret, very hidden methods. Whilst in reality the old masters were really practical, and they just figured, okay, if we can make the problem that we call painting, if we can make this as easy and overseeable as possible, then we basically make our lives easier, and by making our lives easier we can also achieve greater effects. So generally what all the old masters have in common is that they divided the painting process in a couple of steps. The first one is drawing, the second one is light and dark, and the third step is color. So drawing, light and dark, color. And why did they do this? This is because they want to tackle one problem at a time. For example, when you have the drawing, which we call the underdrawing, surprise, surprise, this is like a preparatory drawing. You can take the elements of composition, shape, anatomy and details for this stage. So basically you already have handled composition, shapes, anatomy and some details already when you make the underdrawing. Once you have done this, it's rather easy to go to the next stage, which will take care of the light and dark, which we call the underpainting. So basically the underpainting is an initial layer of paint applied over the underdrawing, which is intended to be painted over later in what we can call an overpainting. So in the underpainting we also take care of some elements of a painting, and these elements for the underpainting are the forms. So in the underpainting stage we establish the form. the shape of a round, the form of a round face, three-dimensionality, etc. You might have heard of some of the types of underpaintings already. They are called, for example, verdaccio in Italian, or grisaille in French. And basically what they all have in common is that they are monochromatic or monocromatico in Italian. And you have different kinds, greenish, reddish or grayish. The latter, grayish, is the grisaille. For example, when you use a greenish underpainting, you have a color scale from very light, so probably something like very white, to green, which is then the darkest of the two, right? So, and there's a scale in between. And when you use a grisaille, verdaccio, maybe a bit greenish, you give some cold color temperature to your painting, because green is a cold color. For grisaille, this is a little bit the same. Grisailles are often made using some kind of white, some kind of black, and some kind of ochre. And when you mix white and black, for example, titanium or lead white and ivory black, together in some kind of way, they get a little bit bluish, because of the properties of these pigments. And blue is very cold, a cold color, so that's why you also can mix in some yellow ochre to make it a little bit more warm and balance it. But in general, it's not very bad if this grisaille, the underpainting, is a little bit cold. And one other name that you might have heard of for grisaille is also the dead layer. And why is it called the dead layer? That's because it is in grayscales, and the dead layers were often, for example, when you have a whole figure portrait, they were often used only for the faces and for the hands, etc., and not necessarily always for the background and everything else in the scene and clothing, etc. So basically everything that's made of flesh. And when you do this in black and white, it looks like the person's going to die. So basically that's why they call it a dead layer. Alright, so dead layer is some kind of underpainting. The dead layer is probably a grisaille, black and white-ish, grayscales. Apart from that, you also have a verdaccio, which is more greenish, and you also have underpaintings that are more purplish or like reddish. But I do not tend to use them myself, nor do I know one of the old masters that use them. Probably they are there, but I don't know them. So after you made a decent underpainting, and on top of the underdrawing, so underdrawing and then underpainting, and you have done this really concisely, then you laid basically a solid foundation for your overpainting to work on. And why is this so handy? This is because when you are going to start to use a lot of colors, then it gets quite complicated. You have to balance a lot of stuff, and you have to take care of all kinds of tones and color temperature and the whole contrasting colors and the color wheel, etc. So this is quite a problem. So it makes it a lot easier when you have a good underpainting beneath, because then actually the tonal values are already there. So everywhere in the painting it's already like determined a little bit, okay, this has to be light, this has to be dark. So when you overpaint it, you should do this not completely opaque, that you cannot see the underpainting anymore, but you should do this a little bit transparent. One of the techniques to do this with is glazing. Another one is scumbling, and another one is a combination of those, invented by one of my YouTube colleagues, and it's called glumbling. It's called glumbling. Yeah, so that's a combination of both. So you put like a little bit transparent layer of paint on top of your underpainting. Okay, in the the parts where there's light, for example on a face, some parts are light. In the underpainting this will be very white. So you have white paint. When you glaze over this in a little bit of warm skin color, then you can see this as a filter. When the light is coming in, it will bounce off through this filter. It will meet the white layer and it will bounce back off into the eye of the viewer. This will actually give a rather pleasing effect. It's like candy for the eye if it's done correctly. Okay, so to summarize, the old masters, they made their life really easy, not hard but easy. They divided the problem that is painting in 3 steps: the drawing, the light and dark, and the color. Some painters mixed these elements together. For example, Rubens, he was impatient, he had a lot of commissions, so he always tried to speed up his processes, so he just sometimes did every 3 of them at once. But in general, in all of his paintings, it's evident that he also used some kind of underdrawing, some kind of underpainting and overpainting. One of the extremes is Tiziano, Italian Renaissance painter. He is probably the most sophisticated of them all. He made sometimes, like I believe, a painting that consists of 12 to 15 layers, I'm not sure exactly, but it was basically also first a drawing, then an underpainting, and then overpainting, but then lots of layers, so lots of glazes, to really define all the color transitions. Very sophisticated. We don't have to do this, of course, ourselves. We can make it a little bit more easy with less overpainting layers. 2 or 3 may be enough for most people and for most cases. So I would like to thank you for your attention. I hope you find it really informative. Let me know in the comments. Subscribe on the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.